But I'm here tonight to basically talk about making your own happy. And a lot of people forget to try to find the silver linings when things aren't so happy. So I've got to tell you a couple stories tonight about times I've been. So I'm going to start off by telling you about the time that I literally was dead. They had to bring me back. I was dead about a minute and a half in the hospital when I was 10 years old. I was bitten by a copperhead snake in my friend's backyard when we were out playing. I think we were playing Frisbee or something. I was like 10. But a copperhead bit me, and I had to be taken to the hospital. I was one of the places around here. And, well, they sent me home. They sent me in the ER for about 8 hours, and they sent me home. They couldn't figure out what kind of snake had bit me or anything, even though we brought it with. And middle of the night, my parents wheeled me right back to the hospital because my legs swelled up like 3 times bigger than it normally was. And while I was there, they were waiting on somebody to bring the anti-venom, and my heart stopped. So they brought me back, luckily, otherwise I wouldn't be here. But the cool part was that for 4 days in the military hospital, I got to eat nothing but cheeseburgers. As a 10-year-old, that is the best. If you have to get bit by a snake just to get cheeseburgers for 4 days straight, you do it. So, but then when I got out of the hospital, I was back in school, and I was still in a wheelchair because my leg had to be rehabilitated. As a 10-year-old, the girls liked the guy that was rolling around in a wheelchair because they could get you through the hallways without having to, walk and bump through everybody. They were willing to let the guy with the wheelchair through no matter what. So good things come out of bad things. But the next thing I want to tell you about is a little bit later when the Belks up here on Main Street opened. Were any of y'all here for that? Mm-hmm. So I was there opening day. They were telling people in the paper that the first 50 or so people got these free little tote bags, but when you got there was 500 people waiting at the door, so much to the point they were like crunched up to the glass and everything to where like you couldn't move, you couldn't breathe. And I ended up getting separated from my mom when the doors finally did open, and I got trampled. It felt like I was in my own version of Jumanji with Robin Williams standing behind me going, "Stampede!" So we recovered, and my mom got the tote bag. But making my own happy is another thing too, not just trying to find the silver linings. And there's some fun ways I do that. I kind of use my beatbox for evil. Those of you that don't know, I am a professional beatboxer. I make sounds with my mouth that sound pretty cool. And I like to go to gas stations and pretend like I'm gonna buy cigarettes from people, like I have one of those tricky voice box things. So it's like you walk up and you're like, "Marlboro 100s." The cashier looks at you like they don't know what to do. I've had people tell me no. I've had people actually sell me the cigarettes and just shake their heads. But one of the other fun things to do is, I just realized this not too long ago, but I've got what I call beatbox Tourette's. I'll just do it without thinking about it. And when you're on the way into the store, I don't realize that people on the inside can't hear me, so all they see is a guy doing this. You look kind of silly. But one of the other funniest things is, I don't know if any of y'all have ever been thrown out of a place before, but I actually ended up with my own trespass notice at a local Walmart, and I was almost busted with a charge for attempted kidnapping. Let me tell you about that. So I went to a friend of mine with their restaurant she worked at, and it was happy hour. She was only there for like a 3-hour shift. So I said, you know what? I'll go in, I'll have a beer, a couple chicken wings, chill out, hang out, have a good time, and we'll just ride home together when she gets off. So a few minutes before the end of her shift, I go into the Walmart next door just to grab one of the little Monster Energy drinks on the way out. So I go to the express lane, and I'm standing there, but I noticed that the lady in front of me at the express lane has got one of the buggies packed full of stuff. And I'm like, it says 20 items or less. She's got like 400 items in the buggy. So me being me, I can't keep my mouth shut. I had to say something. So I said to the lady, "Ma'am, I think you're in the wrong line." So she looks at me and turns around and goes, "Candy?" And I'm like, oh. I said, "No, ma'am, you know that says Kellogg's on the box right there. You know what I'm telling you. You're in the wrong line." And she's just like, "No habla." And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm done with this. And the lady at the cashier, she was like, "Sir, it's okay." I was like, "Well, you obviously can't read either." So I go to take the lady's buggy and move it to another line. what I didn't notice was her behind me going, "Mijo, mijo!" And I'm like, "What?" And I look in the buggy, and her toddler's in the buggy. So, at this point, I get greeted by Walmart's equivalent of Barney Fife. The guy's probably 90 years old. He's walking up to me, and he's just, "Come on." And I'm like, "Fine." So I follow him to the security office where I'm friendly greeted by North Charleston Police Department. And they tell me, they ask me what happened, I tell them. So then they go and talk to the lady, and she decides not to press charges, thankfully. But they did tell me that Walmart never wanted to see me back again. So I said, "You know what, big loss, woo, there's 400 other Walmarts, no big deal." So I leave the store. And on the way back to the restaurant where my friend was working, I thought to myself, I never got my drink. So I turned right around and went right back into the store. I grabbed my drink and I go to the register that just happened to be right next to the one where the cashier was at before. And as I'm checking out, she's glaring at me, and I swear, if looks could kill, I'd have been dead on the spot. But I got my drink and I left with a smile on my face. And I had to walk back to Noisy Oyster where my friend was working, and she looks at me and she goes, "What took you so long getting back? We were supposed to leave 15 minutes ago." So I had to tell her exactly what I just told you, so that was a lot of fun. But I'll leave you all with this. Here's another little fun moment of us having a really good time at an unexpected place. So there was a local Chinese restaurant that closed down a couple years ago, but me and my friends were there enjoying a meal. And my buddy reached down and grabbed that little jar of red pepper sauce that's at the table, and he's trying to smell it, trying to figure out what it is. Well, one of the older ladies that worked at the restaurant, this woman was practically ancient, to the point to where she looked kind of like Hans Moleman from The Simpsons, if you guys know the reference. So she's walking up, barely, and she barely talked, we could barely hear her. But she looks at my buddy and she goes, "You don't want that?" And he's like, "Why? Why?" And she goes, "That China hot, that burn your butthole." Have a good night.
So that's the note you end on. Thank you so much, Joey.